Out of the 20 people working there today, none of them are actually doing anything. They're just all standing around wondering what they're going to have for lunch. I'm sure it'll get finished one day, who knows? But we'll continue to the right hand side. On the river wall you can see some green metallic lion's heads with rings in their mouths. Now these were put in again by the Victorians, but they're not for mooring up boats. That is a common misconception. They're actually part of a very early flood warning system. You can see the average high tide mark in the green moss on the wall. It was said if there was a surge tide and the water covered the lions' mouths, that London was at risk of flooding. So the Metropolitan Police Service, while walking their beat, the constables would look over the side of the wall. If it had got to that level, they'd continue up here to a blue phone box just coming into view, the only one of its kind still left here in London. They would unlock it, phone the underground stations and give them a code word ordering them to shut for fear of flooding. Now they were taught a couple of rhymes for this. See if you can finish them with me. When the lions' heads are drinking, London surely will be sinking. Very good. If the water is up to the lion's mate, London goes down the drains. If you know the answer to this one, keep it to yourself. We have small children on board. When the lion's heads are fully ducked, London is well and truly flooded. I'm sure there's a better one. We've just passed Temple Arch on our right. That's a boundary marker. It's telling us we've just left the City of London, one of the smallest capital cities in the world, at only 1 square mile. And we've entered into the city of Westminster. Now the black and white boat with the black awning on our right hand side, this is the former royal barge, the St Catherine. Back in the day, any time the royal family came out on the River Thames, that is the boat they would have used. They now have a much newer, much nicer one called the Gloriana that was custom built for Queen Elizabeth II. Now the Gloriana is now reserved for King Charles and Prince William. When Harry comes back to London, they make him take that one. Because it's spare. Oh, what, too soon? Just before the next bridge on the right, you'll see a lifeboat station. Now this is the busiest lifeboat station in the world. Last year they had over 750 call-outs. They've just put this brand new one in. They towed the old one away to refurbish and they put this new one in. Cost £10 million. But it's well worth the money. They do a fantastic job here trying to keep us all safe on the River Thames. And the bridge ahead of us, that is Waterloo Bridge, better known as the Ladies' Bridge. Well, most of the men were fighting during the Second World War. It was the ladies who kept this nation going. They built this bridge and they came under enemy fire from above. Whilst doing so, there were still bullet marks on the front. It's the longest bridge to span the upper reaches of the Thames, and it's the only bridge in this river's history ever to have been built both on time and under budget. So well done to the ladies. Over on the right, the building with the green roof, that is the very expensive Savoy Hotel. The cheapest room in there will cost you about £1,000 for the night. And that's a room that faces the road, not the river. If you wanted to stay in the royal suite underneath that flagpole on New Year's Eve, it would set you back more than £20,000 for the night. But don't feel too bad for them. That does come with a complimentary full English breakfast with 2 sausages. So it's only 10 grand a sausage. The stone obelisk here on our right hand side, it's the oldest thing you'll see on our journey today. It's over 3,500 years old. That is Cleopatra 32 boroughs that we have here in London. was only meant to stand there for 5 years. But it's still here to this day for one very good reason. Money. It was leaked during the COVID lockdown that on its busiest day in the peak of summer, it can bring in a profit in excess of £250,000 per day. When this was leaked, a petition went to the government to have the name changed from the London Eye to the Wheel of Fortune. The latest craze here at Waterloo is to get married inside one of the pods on the London Eye. But I wouldn't recommend it, folks. Marriage. You start at the bottom with 20 or so of your closest friends and family saying your vows as you go all the way up to the top. At the top, for all the money that you've paid, they stop the eye for 60 seconds. They pronounce your husband and wife, you may kiss the bride. No. And then, much like marriage, it's all a bit downhill from there. On the right, these are all government buildings filled with very important people. The one with the green rooms, that's the home of the Ministry of Defence, our armed forces for this country. The one ahead of that is New Scotland Yard, the home of Special Branch. But if you were to go a couple of streets inland from here, you would come across COVID lockdown's #1 nightclub location. Number 10, Downing Street. Because we all know it's one rule for us, another rule for them. And ahead of us, I'm sure you all think you can see Big Ben from here, don't you? But actually, you can't. Big Ben is the name of the bell inside that tower. It's 13.5 tons, rings on the hour, every hour, and on the hour alone. The other bells you hear through the day are called the Chimes of Westminster. The tower itself was renamed a few years ago after our last and longest reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. That is called the Elizabeth Tower. And behind it you have the Houses of Parliament, the Palace of Westminster. To give you a sense of scale of how big this palace is, if you look at the Victoria Tower at the back, the biggest one, the flag flying from that flagpole is the size of a tennis court. It's the second palace to have stood here. The first was made of wood, and where Guy Fawkes failed, 2 drunk politicians succeeded. They were having a good old drink inside one of the bars, and they got into an argument. It turned into a fight, and they knocked over a flaming torch, burning the palace to the ground. Who would have thought, eh? Politicians drinking at work. So we're about to start making our way into our next stop, Westminster Pier, for the Houses of Parliament and Westminster Abbey. If you have one-way tickets, bus tickets, or this is your stop, this is where you leave us. If you are leaving us here, please remain seated while we come alongside the pier. When you come alongside a pier here on the Thames, it is a contact sport. There may be a small bump as we make contact with the pier, and I don't want anyone falling over and injuring themselves. It would ruin both your day and mine.
What sandwich have we got left?
British Airways. It's now owned by the Berlin Entertainment Group. It has 32 individual pods. That's not a random number. They represent the 32 boroughs of London. It's only meant to stand there for 5 years. It's still here to this day for one very good reason. Money. It was leaked during the COVID lockdown that on its busiest day here in the summer, it can bring in a profit in excess of £250,000 per day. When this was leaked, a petition went to the government to have that name changed from the London Eye to the Wheel of Fortune. The latest craze here at Waterloo is to get married in one of the pods on the London Eye. So I would recommend it. Marriage. start at the bottom with 20 or so of your closest friends and family, saying your vows, is you go all the way up to the top. At the top, for all the money that you've given them, they stop the eye for 60 seconds. They pronounce you husband and wife, you may kiss the bride. And then, much like marriage, it's all a bit downhill from there, really. Over on the left, there's a building with curved roofs. That is Charing Cross Railway Station. And connecting it to the other side, you have the Charing Cross Railway Bridge and the two Jubilee footbridges, one either side. What we like to do here for everyone on the top deck, it's a tradition we have on board, is as we get closer, my friend the captain, he likes to honk the horn at the people on the bridge, wake them up a little bit. And if you're on the top deck, give everyone up there a wave and see if they wave back. Oh, wave? Oh, Max. It's very important you get people to wave on these bridges. It's for your safety. Because if they're waving at us, they can't throw anything at us. You think I'm joking? We'll try again on the other side. There's a few people up there. Oh, Max. Afternoon. Oh, what nice people. Over on the right, you've got the Royal Festival Hall. It's the last remaining building, the Festival of Great Britain, that was put on after the Second World War to raise the morale of the nation. It's completely soundproof in there. It's said to have some of the best acoustics in the world. Many famous people have played in it, like Pavarotti, Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, even Frank Sinatra has played in there. Now, all these people I have just mentioned do unfortunately have one thing in common. They have all sadly since passed away. So I'm just waiting for Justin Bieber to play a concert now. Now the bridge ahead of us, this is Waterloo Bridge, better known as the Ladies' Bridge. Well, most of the men were fighting during the Second World War. It was the ladies that kept this nation going. They built this bridge. They came under enemy fire from above whilst doing so. There are still bullet marks on the other side. It's the longest bridge to span the upper reaches of the River Thames. And it's the only bridge in this great river's history ever to have been built both on time and under budget. So well done to the ladies. Over on the right, you've got a concrete building with an electronic billboard. No, this is not a multi-storey car park. I know it looks like one, but it's not. Unfortunately, that is our National Theatre. Regularly voted one of the ugliest buildings in London. I disagree. I think it's one of the ugliest in England. And there's one man who's agreed with me on this subject several times in live interviews on the television. And that is our newly coronated king, King Charles III. And let's be honest, he knows a thing or two about buildings. But they say don't judge a book by its cover. Inside there are 3 separate auditoriums, including the world famous Olivier Theatre that was named after one of the founding members. Ahead on the left, there's a white boat with a beige funnel. That is the HQS Wellington, formerly of the New Zealand Royal Navy. It was donated to the Honourable Company of Master Mariners as their floating livery. Sounds very impressive, doesn't it? What that really means is that boat is a drinking club for retired captains. To be a member, you must have been a Master Mariner, a captain out at sea for over 20 years. And you must be formally invited. That is an honourable company. Now, my grandfather was a member of that club, and my dad was recently invited. So there's no pressure for my career at all. Over on the right, you see some of our prime sandy beaches here, the Costa del Thames. On a nice sunny day, you'll see families topping up their chairs there, kids playing with the little bits of broken glass, dogs swimming in the polluted water. What a lovely day out. They're actually talking about filming the English version of Baywatch there. But the building next to it, with the white lines running through it and the concrete tower on the top, that started its life as a power station. It was then bought by the Oxo company, who make the little stock cubes that you find in a supermarket. But you look either side of us as we travel the river and you'll notice there's no advertising here on the banks of the River Thames. That's because this is a royal waterway. This is the King's River. It's illegal to advertise it. But if you look at the glass inlaid into the concrete tower on top of that building, it appears to spell out the company name, OXO. Now they tried to claim that it was a fluke of engineering, and they were taken to court for it. But the judge threw it out of his courtroom. He said it was a waste of time and money to prosecute. So they've done free advertising there for over 50 years. No longer owned by the Oxo company, the bottom is all shops, the top is the very expensive Harvey Nichols restaurant. And in the middle, you've got lots of luxury, unaffordable housing. The bridges ahead of us are the Black Friars. The first one is the road footbridge that was built by the Victorians. The second one, well, that's the railway bridge. It's also actually the railway station. So we are about to sail directly underneath a fully functioning railway station. But they're better known to us that work on the Thames as the tunnels of love. It's said if you turn to one that you love underneath these arches and give them a kiss, you'll choose 7 years of happiness. Not yet, madam, we're not underneath. There's always one. If you're not with the one that you love, you could always turn to your husband or your wife. Single ladies, I'm sorry, I am married. But Frank, up here in the wheel box, is single. Just make a nice old link here. I'm sure he'll be more than happy. We're going with the outgoing ebb tide. You can see it brushing against the side of the bridge next to us. On the left, dominating the skyline, we have St Paul's Cathedral, St Christopher Wren's Master. It's 365 feet tall to the top of that cross. The second largest unsupported cathedral dome in the world, beaten only by St Peter's in the Vatican City. Now normally you can pay £23 to go in there, have a little look around, learn all the history inside those walls, and they are steeped in history. You can then climb over 500 steps to the top of the dome, to the viewing balcony. I've seen people out there already today. But a bit of local knowledge for you. If you're ever here on a Sunday morning, it's open to the public for Mass. So it's free. Well, I say it's free, that is a church. They'll get you at the end. You'll find someone walking around with a silver chandelier.